This week on NWP, we take a look at Patrick's Pot of Gold, and I do my best not to offend all Irish listeners with my bad accent. Hello everyone, and welcome to Nerds Without Pants, episode 19. I am Julian, and I'm joined, as always, by Patrick.
Charmed, I'm sure.
Oh, see, that's pretty good. But you're the real deal.
Yeah.
I wish, and we'll get into a little more, but because this is, we're recording this just after St. Patrick's Day. It was supposed to be the day after, but there were some scheduling problems and we couldn't make it. So it's a little bit after St. Patrick's Day, but that's not going to stop us from doing our Patrick's Day episode, damn it, because I just thought it'd be fun, and then Patrick came up with a really cool idea for the show, and I wanted another excuse to put a bunch of Irish music into it. Because as far as I understand from my family, like the part of me that's white comes from Ireland, but I think that's true of a lot of people who are mixed race. Like it's like, oh yeah, I've got some Irish in there somewhere.
Oh
but,
yeah.
But I just wish I was like more Irish, like enough to actually like, you know, have some of the heritage and stuff like that. As it is, it's just like of the plethora of races that I am, it's the one that I feel the biggest, strongest pull towards for some reason. So we'll get into that later. We've changed things up a little bit for the show, because we've kind of been moving towards just general geekery for the last few episodes or so, and it got really awkward saying, well, let's talk about what we've been playing. So instead of calling it that, which a lot of podcasts do anyway, we've decided to call the opening segment Consumption Junction.
What's your function?
Which, because we consume lots of different types of media. I mean, it's still going to be a lot of games, of course, because we play a lot of video games, but it kind of gives us carte blanche to talk about whatever for this opening segment. With that being said, I'm actually going to open with some video games, because that's just what I do. I've been playing Disgaea 2 for review, which is kind of weird because, you know, it's a PS2 game. But we got a review copy because this is actually the PS2 Classics version that you can download off of PSN. And this is the first that I've played one of these games off of PSN. And it's pretty cool because you actually get the digital manual, like it's completely scanned in. So that's been a godsend for Disgaea, which is, you know, a pretty tricky game to learn. I was having to remember a lot of stuff because I played the first game, put about 70 hours into it, but that was a long time ago, and I haven't really touched the series since. But Patrick, I think you'd actually like Disgaea 2 a lot, because I know you've expressed concerns about being basically the son of the devil in the first game. Although with this game they kind of downplay that, because apparently, like, there's overlords in a whole bunch of different realms, and you're in a completely different world than the first game, but your main character is actually a do-gooder human who it's just not his style to do things underhanded or cheat his way to victory or anything like that. So he's a complete 180 from Laharl.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, like, his family has been turned into demons, so they kind of have like no conscience and you know, are kind of a little bit bloodthirsty. He's trying to get them turned back, and he ends up teaming up with the daughter of the overlord that he's trying to overthrow. And so, of course, she's a demon. She's trying to undermine him at every turn, but at the same time, he's trying to do right by her and try to help her out while she helps him, even though all the time she's trying to kill him. But
I wonder how the graphics like shape up, because I know like in the third one where they like repitch you as like the son of the devil and like this kid who's like learning in school to be a bad guy, and he like needs to go out and show his dad that he's like the baddest guy ever. Like those graphics aren't nothing to be proud of, really, but like I think the PS2 could probably generate them as well. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because it looks all right. Playing it on HD TV, I think because it's 2D sprites instead of polygons, it doesn't really look too blurry or anything. Like everything is decently sharp and everything. You can obviously tell that it's an SD game being played on an HD monitor, but it hasn't bothered me or anything. But it's kind of funny that you say that, Patrick, because it got me thinking. I was like, well, what about Disgaea 3 on the PS3? Like, I remembered it didn't get very good reviews because they said it was kind of the same content. And so I looked on Amazon, and I didn't know there was a Disgaea 4.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and picked that one up because it was like $20, and that's apparently the first one where they did HD graphics. And so I popped it in, and it looks so gorgeous. Oh my god! I had a really hard time going back to double Disgaea 2 for my review because I was like, I just want to play this now. Like, it looks so beautiful. And there's even an option to turn it into like the old sprites. And it's like, I don't know why you would want to do that, but it's actually completely different art. And like the characters are actually taller and they animate a lot better. Like even the character portraits when you're doing the cutscenes are animated. Yep. So it's everything about it is just like a much higher production. And I'm looking forward to, after I finish this review, well, not immediately, obviously, but I do want to get into that one. It's
That's awesome.
It kind of sucks because I'm getting really addicted to leveling on Disgaea 2, but I kind of want to not do that because I want to commit more of that time to Disgaea 4.
Do they give you trophies for that one, or since it's a classic, they don't have trophies?
The Disgaea 2, there's no trophies, but Disgaea 4 obviously does. Yeah, so
because 3 had trophies, but in the fourth one, I'm curious, is it like a good guy protagonist or a bad guy?
He's a reformed bad guy. He's a vampire who it's kind of funny because he's his first intro, like you just see him off camera and he's like, oh, the lifeblood, the succulent energy. Oh, it gives me so much power. I love these sardines. and he's like, because sardines are filled with omega-3 fatty acids. And apparently he doesn't want to take human blood anymore, and his werewolf manservant is trying to sneak like human blood into his food, and he's not having it. So it's pretty cool. And he's also like a Prinny instructor.
Oh yeah, I love Prinny.
Yeah,
like that's what I love about this guy, though. It never takes itself too seriously, and it's got some of the best writing because it's so bad. Like, oh yeah, even the anime is that way, but the anime is probably worse overall. It's just it's funny that there's so many angels fighting demons, and no one really cares.
Yeah. And, it's cool when you see, like, characters from the first game pop up. Like, Etna is one of the, she's actually one of the most powerful characters I've met so far. Like, she's, like, level 1000. And she, like, annihilated my party. And the Prism Rangers come back, who are the really bad Power Rangers knockoffs.
Yeah.
So, it's still got that really good sense of humor to it. I'm really enjoying it. Probably get my review up in the next week or so. But yeah, so that's been it. Pretty much game-wise. I've been playing a lot of Ridiculous Fishing on my iPhone, because everybody's been talking about it lately, and it is pretty darn good. I don't think it's as, like, fantastic as everybody's making it out to be, but there is something really compelling about just trying to get deeper into the ocean and catch different types of fish, and then blow them out of the sky once you pull them up.
I actually just heard of, like, a new game in development, because I was hanging out with some people from the game industry at Chicago. And I just brought it up right now because I think it's going to be a portable game. I think you'll love it because you love fighting games. It's by the people who some people who worked on MK9, and they started this game out as a farce. It's called Dive Kick.
I've heard something about that. It's
hilarious. The entire mechanics is it's one-hit kills, and there's only 2 buttons. One's jump, and one is kick. There's 6 different characters now at this point or something, and, the only difference is they, jump quicker or slower and dive farther or nearer.
And so this is just something that, the Injustice guys are doing, on the side? Like a splitter team or something?
Yeah, I think so. Or it might be just the MK guys. I'm not sure if like all of them are working on the same project because NetherRealm is kind of like, I don't know, it's like 120 people now instead of like 70 people or something when it was Midway, so.
Oh, okay. Well, that stands to reason. I like it when there's these little side projects that get done. Like, that's the whole reason that we have Torchlight.
Yep.
Because the people who are working on Hellgate London, like, they did this little project on the side that was going to be this free-to-play, like, Diablo-type game, and then when Hellgate went under, they were like, well, we'll just turn this into a game. And Torchlight's awesome, so.
Yeah, it's too bad Hellgate went under. There's this one girl I knew, she didn't play many video games, but, like, she was really set on playing that one, and then, like, a couple months after it comes out, it just did terrible.
Yeah, I remember reading an interview with the lead designer, like, after it went under, and it was just an amazing story. I mean, it just sounded like so many things just went wrong with the planning and management of the game, but they had all this stuff in place and could have been awesome, but, you know, sometimes things just don't come together.
Yeah, not that many people want to see demons in London, I guess.
Right. Well, I think it was probably a weird thing to have it be like this, like, third-person quasi-action game, but also part MMO. You know, where you're clicking on a bunch of buttons, but you also have direct control.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it reminded me kind of like Diablo, but I guess no one really wanted more of that. They just want Diablo.
Yeah. Until Diablo came out, and they're like, oh, we don't want this.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we don't even want what we said we wanted.
Now please us.
I've been playing with a lot of demons in cities, but not London. I've been playing in New Mariah, and I finished Infamous 2 the other day.
Oh, cool.
Actually, yeah, a couple days ago. But I was trying to finish it before we did this podcast, and then since we didn't do it on Sunday, I was like, oh, man, I was going to surprise you. Because I did all the side missions, too, which take a while. There's like 65 of them or something. And some of them you just have to, like, find by hanging around in the city and, like, killing some guy randomly, and he'll, like, drop a package or something. So it took a little while.
Yeah.
But I like the story overall. I'm glad I didn't pay for it. But, like, yeah, because it was PS Plus. And it's sort of like it came back kind of cyclically when the main political bad guy ended up turning into the same bug or maggot that he was, like, again, at the end, like he was at the beginning. And then I was like, oh yeah, you're gonna fight the beast, and probably if I played the first one, it would have been like a big turn of events to find out who the beast was, I'm guessing, Julian?
Remind me who the beast was? And spoilers for this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it might have been a little bit. I think that the reveal at the end of Infamous 1 is a lot more, like, shocking than Infamous 2.
Oh, okay.
And I actually still, to this day, like, I think that Infamous 1 overall is a better game, but there's things in Infamous 2 that are done so much better. Like, obviously the graphics are way better and the physics are better. And also the cutscenes, because that was a problem with Infamous 1, is that anytime that Cole was talking just in the in-engine stuff, it just didn't look very good, and Infamous 2, they really bumped up, like, the direction and lip syncing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I liked the storybook kind of approach to it, or the comic book approach, so.
Yeah. And I do love when you get to do that, you unleash that vortex, and just, like decimate, like, an entire, like, city street, you know, to take down, like, a bunch of enemies.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually like it better than the lightning strike you get at the end, because lightning strike only goes to, like, the most powerful character, but
yeah,
there's, like, one character you actually have to use it on at the end, so it's sort of integral.
Right.
When I was at GDC Austin a couple of years ago, when it existed, there's this one guy who did a keynote speech about, like, he called it innovative storytelling, and I was like, I don't think comic book storytelling is innovative, man. I went up to him afterwards. I was like, have you ever heard of, like, Infamous or played it? He's like, no, what's that? He's like, I'm like, it's a game that did, like, what you said no games have done yet. So. Yeah.
Well, and I'd like to see them even go further with that, like, actually maybe go, like, Ang Lee's Hulk, you know, type of thing, where as you're playing the game, like, panels start to, like, pop up in the middle of the screen and stuff like that, which, I mean, they've done that kind of with, like heavy rain and stuff like that, but going into that actual, like, really hard-lined comic book look to it, like in the middle of the screen, I think would be really cool.
Well, there was Comic Zone. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, Comic Zone is a really good thing, but I was thinking more like just like, let's say that, Cole starts talking to an enemy, like, before like a boss fight starts, and have them talking in the in-game engine, but then also like, in the middle of the screen cut to like the comic book versions of them, and maybe even do some word balloons and stuff. I don't know. Just something to like really bring it like more to the forefront.
That would be awesome, and maybe we'll get to the point where like you can pick and choose like if you want it that way or you want it just like a normal way. You could see it like from behind or like change your angle.
Right.
Yeah, so you can like make your own panel or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's cool because you like doing everything you could in Infamous 2 is how I felt with Infamous 1, where I just devoured every bit of content for that game. But then Infamous 2, I was like, well, kind of did enough of all of these things, and I don't feel like completely like 100%ing it this time. But I think that's only because the gameplay is so similar.
Yeah, it probably wasn't like spent on it or anything, although I'm not going to go evil. I didn't do anything evil on purpose. Like sometimes I would injure civilians on accident and then I'd heal them afterwards. Yeah. Except when I accidentally press O and I do an arc restraint instead.
Yeah, it's really easy in that game in particular to accidentally like take a fool down, but fortunately they give you a second chance to, it's like, oh, sorry, didn't mean to do that. Here, let me help you back up.
Yeah, I just wish there was a way to like un-arc restraint them, because I'm like, you're just there forever, huh? This is kind of torture. But it kind of tricks you like that in a couple ways, and I got tricked at the end too, because Quo, who had always been a good guy, spoilers, ends up like sort of betraying you because she wants to stay alive. So,
Sorry, I thought you were going somewhere with that.
Not really.
Okay. You just feel that icy cold knife in your back.
Yeah, I feel betrayed. And yeah, I was attracted to her. So words can't really express.
Et tu, Quo?
Yeah, exactly. But we'll get back to tricks and how things have stumped us a little bit later.
Right.
I also played Warp. Have you heard of this?
I've heard of it. I heard like there's a lot of buzz about it in like PAX and stuff before it came out, but then when it finally came out, it seemed to get like a really cold response from people.
Huh. I thought it was cute. Like the main character is kind of Nightcrawlery, except he's more like a blob, and like he can't really talk, and is like adorable because like what is he saying? Why are these people trying to kill him? And then he just like goes inside of people and explodes them from the inside. So it's kind of funny. But like you like have to be a bad guy again in that. So like I mean you have to kill these guys who are trying to shoot you. It's sort of defensive, but like I didn't really have to explode these people into a million bits. That was just kind of fun.
Well, I think you can kind of couch it in the fact that he's like not of this earth or whatever, and is just kind of afraid, like just kind of trying to get away.
Yeah, and there's like cool challenges too, where you have to like warp quickly to the end of the level, and it like does leaderboards and stuff. So overall, they did like as much as they can with like the one mechanic, which is sort of how a downloadable game can be,
Yeah, I think the key is if you can do things to make that mechanic stay fresh throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
We'll see. I only played the first level so far, and I just got it on sale. It was like $250 or something. So
I can't argue with that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's because PS Plus discount a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got Joe Danger 2 last week, which is way better than Joe Danger 1, because Joe Danger 1 is always like Excite Bike going left to right, and in this one it's like it's called Joe Danger 2 the movie, and it's like the first level is you're like in this minecart or something instead of being on a bicycle, and then like the next level is like something different. So it's switching up all these different visual aids that like help make it seem fresh the entire game, and I like it a lot more.
Cool. Yeah, speaking of movies and video games and charming art styles, which Joe Danger is all of those, I finally saw Wreck-It Ralph. Like,
yeah,
you would expect someone like me to like have seen that movie like a million times already, and I fully intended to watch it opening night, and it just didn't happen. And then like money went crazy, and so I couldn't really afford it, and then it was gone. But I actually watched that for St. Patrick's Day. That was that was my celebration. Went over to a friend's house, and we had some corned beef and cabbage, and watched some Wreck-It Ralph. But man, that movie's incredible. Like it deserves all the accolades that it's been getting from people. And the beginning of that movie, like it was basically like watching Up again for me, like the beginning of Up, because watching the arcade change over the years just like really affected me emotionally. Like I got really verklempt, and it's because I was such an arcade rat, and I've been with the arcade since practically the beginning. I'm missing about 7 years or so of it, but I was there for arguably the heyday of it from 80, 85 on, and just seeing it change from all these iconic games, and the fact they were even able to get all those iconic games, like they even had the Ninja Turtles cabinet in there, and stuff like that, and then seeing it just become like, oh yeah, now it's just like these virtual like amusement rides and Dance Dance Revolution, and these these games that cost like $3 to play, and you play them for like 30 seconds and then you're done. Like it's very depressing for me.
Yeah, now Cubert's a homeless guy, and like everybody's playing this go-kart game.
Yeah, the Cubert thing like made me want to cry.
I know.
Because like Cubert is like one of those like games lost to time. It's like like people don't really talk about Cubert. It doesn't like get put into compilations or anything. Like, and granted, it wasn't the best game in the world, but it was very iconic. And there was a while there where Cubert was almost as recognizable as Pac-Man. Like he was just a really cute little guy.
Yeah, but, I know some old females who still like are really good at that game, setting records and stuff.
Right, and just the way that they envisioned the world, and like the way that they get from their game into like Tapper's Bar and stuff like that. Like just all the little touches were really great. So yeah, I mean, just really impressed all around. I thought the actual story, by itself was really great. Kind of this like. There are a little bit of like anti-bullying there, and feeling like you're the outsider and stuff like that. I thought that Sarah Silverman's character was beyond adorable.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to eat her.
Okay, well, that seems awfully aggressive, Patrick. But no, I thought it was amazing. I thought Jane Lynch has never been sexier than she was in that movie.
Yeah.
I hope that there's going to be a sequel, because I would like some more of that universe.
Yeah, maybe like, I hope they don't call it like Wreck-It Ralph 2, because that would be so generic. Like, they could do that with Toy Story or Toy Story 2, but Wreck-It Ralph, like, they sort of like pigeonholed the name into like this one character. So it kind of stinks, because his story is already told. There's like, they could probably tell another story in that universe, though.
Yeah.
Which might be like an innovative way to stretch like the limits of that property, but it's not like Toy Story where there's an ongoing thing. Like he saved the day, and that's, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, there's a lot of places they could go with it, but maybe they could even make it more about Fix-It Felix, because I thought that his character was really cool.
Yeah, I would hope they would like call it Fix-It Felix or something.
Yeah.
And the guy who does that, that was the coolest he ever was. He's such a dunce on 30 Rock.
Yeah, I didn't. I actually don't know him from like his like sitcom stuff, but I always remember him as the newlywed from Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and I love that character.
Yeah.
So, it was cool. It took me a while to actually place the voice.
Yep. But I guess I've been doing some other stuff, like watching TV a lot, doing a lot of consumption, and Girls just ended up. I was really happy about that, because it was like the first time in the like whole 2 seasons that it was like alive. That I guess, well, it's not really alive, but it was like the first time that a male had ever gotten redemption. And this guy Adam, who like, I really wish Rob were still here, because he was like such a bad like apey kind of guy, and like, I don't know, just like fell into love with like the main character, and then like she tore him away after she like wanted like him, and like came to his doorstep, and like then he got crazy. After all that, he finally had a redemptive like scene, and it was like the last scene that like they ended the whole season with like her in his arms and he's like carrying her. It's like, it's crazy. I don't know. And so I really enjoy that. And then there's like a bunch of other stuff that's like ending soon, which is pretty fun. Do you watch, like Walking Dead?
I've been watching it on Netflix because I watched the first season and liked it a lot. And then when season 2 started, I watched the first couple episodes and then just forgot about it. Mm-hmm. So I didn't actually finally get around to watching season 2 until just about a couple months ago. So I decided to just wait on season 3, even though like they introduced my favorite character, Michonne, and I still haven't seen her in action. You know, I'll wait a little longer.
Man, I'm conflicted about, there's like this new Michonne statue that Todd McFarlane made. It's like $300, but it's signed by Robert Kirkman, and it like revolves. And it's got her with like 2 katanas, and she's like in midair kicking one in the face and like slicing another one's head off, and there's blood that's like in stop motion, like just in midair. It's crazy. You should definitely check it out because it's limited to like 1,500 statues, but like, man, that would look good. And that's all it would do.
Right, yeah. It would look good and remind you of the money you wasted.
Exactly. And I could sell it later. I don't know. Maybe. But like, there's always someone who's like buying stuff. You know, if you watch Comic Book Men, Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, there's always people bringing in like statues and old toys, and they go for a lot of money. But
yeah, that really bothers me on that show because that's not how comic book stores typically operate.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, like my comic book shop guy would totally never buy something like that from me.
Yeah, it's like most of the time they're trying to unload the stuff that they already have.
Yeah,
like,
he's got like a huge like backlist of all this, or like huge like warehouse worth of stuff that no one ever bought and he thought would be bought.
Yeah, it's like, you know, we have a comic book store here that it's not as famous as Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, but it's bigger. It's Austin Books, and that place is amazing. Like, if you're ever in Austin, like, that's the comic book store to go to. But you walk in, and it's like, holy crap, they've just got statues and figures everywhere. And I don't know how much of that they're moving. I mean, obviously, there's a market for it, because that's why they stock it. But there's no way they're going to, like, buy something off of some Joe that comes in off the street. It's like, no, we've got literally tens of thousands of dollars of merchandise here in the store already. Like, we don't need your thing from, 5 years ago.
Yeah, my place, it's called Alternate Reality, and the guy who like owns it, and he's always there. His name's Comic Book Man Prime. He looks exactly like the Comic Book Man should look like in my book. It's almost scary. But he like has like these cabinets where like people can put their stuff in and they'll take a commission. It's just like I never see those things move. Like,
right, yeah.
I don't know what people are looking for, but it's not that. There's something about like a loose figure that like, I don't know, degrades in value a lot for some reason.
Yeah, and I open my toys when I buy them because I want to put them places.
Hell yeah. There's only like one toy that I haven't opened. Well, 2. I got a Vash the Stampede Trigun figure, and it's like a special one, like a special edition, like black instead of red. Never opened that. It's like Japanese imported. It's crazy. Just look at it in the box every day. And then also Darth Maul from episode 1, like one of those mini statues. They did like Mortal Kombat statue or action figures that size and everything.
Oh, it's Star Wars Unleashed? Is it that one?
I don't know if it's Unleashed. I think it was like the original. They were about 4-inch characters.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And like Darth Maul was the really hard one to find, and like I found it, and I just kept it in the box, and yeah, never gonna open it.
One day it'll be relevant again.
Yeah, when episode 9 comes out or something.
Cool.
But yeah.
Anything else?
Well, FIFA kind of played a trick on me, and that'll lead into our discussion, which is, when you get stumped in video games, I thought I was good at it for a while. And like I've been playing it, I've been getting better and stuff, and like sometimes I can score like 2 goals or 3 goals in like a 5-minute match. And then I'll do like really good things and it like won't pass where it should or something. I'm like, you tricked me into thinking that I was a good player and then like having my passes go errant and like not where they should go. Like, even though I have good team chemistry and like, am playing with some of the best players, it's like, this is what hell must feel like when you're like about to get fed and then he takes it away from you. Like, and you could see it right there. You could see the through ball. You can see the goal and like you shoot it and somehow the goalie just jumps, dives. He's a bad goalie and he like swats it away. Or like, you know you're defending the shot and somehow he shoots it around you. It's like, there's these, the AI, man, it plays tricks on you.
I almost want to call shenanigans on that. Like, that almost seems like it does really seem like a bait and switch type thing.
Yeah, like, I don't know, how do you have good AI though and like make something hard? Like, they always know where they're going because like they're playing on your team and the opposite team. So like, they can let a goal go by at any moment. And like, it always happens right after I like take the lead in the hardest difficulty. I'm like, God damn it. It took me like 50 minutes to get that goal. And then you get one right after for some reason because my guy fell down and they didn't call a foul. But anyway, that's the topic first. We're going into, the St. Patrick's Day special, which is tricks and leprechauns. You'll be able to read it somewhere, but like it's not spelled how you think.
Long have we parted been, laddie, my dearie. Now we have met again, laddie, lie near me. Long have I sought thee, thy face to cheer me. Dear has it cost me, laddie, lie near me. Near me, laddie, lie near me. Now we have met again, laddie, lie near me.
Yeah, basically, I decided that since it was St. Patrick's Day, that I would let Patrick choose the topic for this episode. It would just be Patrick's Day, and you came up with a really good one where it's just a whole bunch of trickery and things that aren't what they seem.
Mm-hmm. So, like, yeah, let's kick it off with, like, tricks that stumped us in video games. Anything with you, like, that's been stumping you?
The water temple in friggin' Zelda Ocarina of Time. That was, I mean, I think that's as I've learned in years later, that's kind of the make it or break it for most people in a Zelda game. I didn't realize that at the time, but that was the break it moment for me. Like, that's actually where I kind of broke with Zelda, to be perfectly honest. Like, I got to the water temple, I was super stoked, you know, I bought the gold cartridge of Zelda 64, I still call it Zelda 64, because that's what we called it back in the 90s, leading up to it. You know, I was really loving it, and then I got to the water temple, and it was somewhere around the 5,000th time that I had to equip and unequip my metal boots to walk on the bottom of the submerged area, that I was like, I'm done. Can't do it. Like,
right.
I think that's probably the first time that I really gave up on a game, where it's just like, I can't figure this out. Like, I don't even remember, you know, what parts of this dungeon I've already solved and everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that temple specifically a little bit later.
Okay.
Because it was my trick daddy. But we'll get there. Yeah, well, I think you would like the Ocarina of Time 3DS though, because they put your inventory on the bottom screen and you don't have to press start and equip and unequip so much. So, like, it doesn't take, like, an extra 10 seconds every time you do it.
Yeah.
It just, like, happens right away. So, just because, like, the system is faster than a N64 was.
Yeah, it's that friggin' inventory screen, man.
But how much does that cartridge run these days? That must be one of the more expensive ones, no?
I haven't really looked. I mean, there was like, the gold cartridge was actually in pretty large supply, But of course, the gray cartridges are in a much larger supply because those are the ones that were produced, in the months and years later.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I haven't really looked. I mean, obviously mine would have been. I don't have it anymore, but mine would have been like all of my cartridge games are. With a perfect box and the plastic sleeve that the game came in, and all of the documentation, including like the subscription card for Nintendo Power that was always in the games. Because that's just how I keep my stuff.
I didn't do that till years later. All my like Nintendo 64s like were ripped open because I just loved like playing video games so much at that point in my life. I was like, I don't know, 8 years old. I would just like rip the cartridge apart the cardboard apart, and I don't know where like any of those went. And I eventually just sold them all loose back to like my GameStop and got like 4 games out of it.
Yeah.
One of them being like the Morrowind Special Edition, which is like still in like pristine shape right now with like this little pewter figurine with like 6 hands who does nothing for me.
I still own my original, like my very first game, which was Metroid for the NES. The only thing that I've done to it is I wrote passwords in the back of the instruction manual. But other than that, it's the original box in pristine condition. It's the sleeve. It's the styrofoam bit in the box that keeps everything nice and secure inside the box. That's just how I am.
Yeah, and in some ways that like is how marketing tricks us into paying extra for our games, but we'll get there. That's just a little tease, guys.
Just the tip.
Yeah. I got stumped the past 2 weeks or so when I was playing Professor Layton and the Miracle Mask on 3DS. It should have been like a really easy puzzle, like most of them are. Like most of them take just long enough where you think a little bit and you can get it in like 2 minutes or less, pretty much. But this one, it was like just like this stupid donut puzzle where I needed to find 3 alike, and they had like 3 rows of 4, and only 3 of them were like unique donuts that like the grandma made or something like that. And it tells you that you can flip the donut, but I'm like, which way can they be flipped? Because if I flip them any like way, I see like 2 sets of 3 that it could be, or like I could see 4 that are the same, and then like I narrow it down. I'm like, this could be like any of them, because if you flip a donut a certain way, like there's 4 different glazings like in the quarter sections of each donut with a hole in the middle, and for some reason like I don't know, I was going crazy with like imagining how I could flip these donuts back and forth, and can I do it up and down or just left to right? Like I don't know what they meant by flip it, but I found like 3 different sets of 3 that were unique. And eventually it was the only Professor Layton puzzle where I used all my hints. And eventually they tell you the second one from the left on top is one of them. Can you find another one? Or 2? I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's funny when stuff like that will stump you. Like, I don't know about you, but sometimes for me, it's just a matter of like walking away from the game for a little bit. And the stuff will come to me at just the weirdest times. I remember I was playing the first Soul Reaver for PS1.
Mm-hmm.
Totally got stuck on this block moving puzzle. Like could not do it for the life of me. I think I probably banged my head at it for like an hour before I went to bed. Go to work the next day, and I'm just going about my business. And I remember vividly, I went to go take a leak, and midstream I was like, "That's what I have to do." I was so excited to get back home. But I'll never forget that midstream that the solution came to me.
That's nice. I was like the same way when I played Phantasy Star. You need to go back to your home to get like your other characters. And for the longest time I like had these 2 characters you start out with on Phantasy Star 2, and like you're leveling up and stuff, and you can't go in the first dungeon because it's ridiculously hard in an old RPG. But then, like, you just, go back to your first town, which it doesn't guide you toward at all, because it tells you immediately to go to the second place and meet this new character, and then you don't get him after you talk to him. It's like, what the hell? What do I do? And then, like, eventually I just, like, went back to the first home that I was in, and, like, this, girl comes and, like, gets you. And, like, I'm like, I'm gonna go to sleep or save or whatever, and there's your level 1 character. It's like, what the hell? Why are you there? Why did you just go to another town without me?
One of the most annoying things for me in the JRPG is when I don't know what I need to do. Like I'm like, okay, I've talked to flipping everybody in this town. Like, I don't have any instructions on where to go next. What the hell do I do? And then I go to, like, sleep just because I'm bored, and then that triggers the next cutscene. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, no, that's awful. It's just a great feeling when, like, they make it so difficult to figure out what you do next that you're just like, I'm doing the same things over and over again. And Fantasy Star 2 like that sometimes. You have to talk to everybody to figure out where to go.
Yeah.
But it's not the worst.
It's up there.
Yeah, man. I don't know. That stumped me. Those are the two things that stump me the most in games. Anything else for you?
I'm sure there's been other ones, but the water temple it really like comes to the forefront. It kind of like, you know, outshines every other thing that I can think of.
See, I wasn't like pissed so much at the water temple though as I was with like the shadow temple or sand temple in Ocarina of Time, where like you need to use the mirror shield to like find like a cave opening in the side of like the sand, and you have to like, you're supposed to walk through it. That's where you face like the three sisters or something, and like all of the sand looks exactly the same. You're just walking up and down it, trying to like find this one place where you like, I think it's like you shield the light into that part of the sand, and then it like dissolves. I'm like doing that for hours on end, just looking at like this light brown color. It's awful when it's not like detailed enough.
Yeah, that almost reminds me of like, you know, Castlevania 2, where, you know, you just kind of have to already know that there's a spot where you have to kneel at a dead end for 3 seconds, and then this like whirlwind comes to take you to the next area. Like, it's like there's no way you're going to figure that out on your own. Like, it's just this random thing that happens, and it kind of, you just kind of learned it on the schoolyard, you know, or from Nintendo Power.
Have you been watching the Castlevania replays on IGN with Colin Moriarty and Jeremy Parrish?
No, I haven't.
They like started playing through all of them, and Moriarty like plays through the first Castlevania in like 5 minutes. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
He like doesn't die, but like for some reason at the end of the last, or during the last level, his like recorder like went out, and like he didn't record it up, and so like the last level, you just like go from the second to last level right to Dracula. Like, did you die a bunch of times? But he says no, something happened with my video, and I don't know. Anyway, they've been doing like they're like replaying through all the Castlevanias to show the people that when they gave like Castlevania Mirrors of Fate a bad grade, like that they know their Castlevania, because people have been complaining that they gave it too low of a score.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's the nature of people with reviews, but yeah. Yeah, and you know, some of the Castlevanias, I don't think they hold up necessarily all that well. I don't think Castlevania 1 and 2 hold up to my memory, but I still think that 3 and 4 are, like, pretty great. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Symphony of the Night is on another level.
Yeah, did that trick you?
Symphony of the Night? Oh, you know what? That's a good one. Yeah, it did. I was really pleased with myself when I figured out how to get to the reverse castle, because it was one of those things where I beat the game, and I was like, that was really anticlimactic. I'm kind of disappointed in that. And I was trying to like fill out the map, and I was like, there was that because I think I got the spike armor, and I was like, wait a minute, there was this room where there was like nothing but spikes and I couldn't get through it. And so sure enough, doing that led me to the course of events that got me to kill the real thing, you know, that you're supposed to fight in what you think is the final boss, and then, you know, it flips the script on you, literally, and you have to go through the entire castle in reverse, basically. And yeah, that was a mind-blowing moment, but I felt very proud of myself that after a few hours of being just disappointed and stumped, I was like, wait a minute, there's more to this game than I thought there was.
Like a half a game.
Yeah. Just never did get everything in there, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about Castlevania. Like, I don't really find the weapon that badass. It's like you're just using a whip. I don't know. That's kind of like S&M.
Flaming Chain Whip is pretty darn awesome.
It's okay, but I'd rather have holy water.
Well, and then I think that's what Koji Igarashi realized with Symphony of the Night is that having swords and axes and different types of weapons are more interesting than just the whip. So that's why all of his games, with the exception of like Circle of the Moon, you're actually using a bunch of different types of weapons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I've played more of those because I like those more like than the older ones.
Oh yeah, same here. Actually, I think that Aria of Sorrow for the GBA is actually a little bit better game than Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, I like that too, and I sort of saw the same thing. I'm like, oh, so they just kind of evolved it a little bit, huh?
Yeah. There's something about the way that you get like the souls that allow you to equip different abilities and stuff like that really completely alters the game, and the animation's so nice, even for it being on the little GBA cartridge.
Yeah, it gives you that like collectability too, which I love in a game.
Yeah.
But so I guess we'll move on to some of the trickier moves we do. So like for me, it's like mostly sports oriented, which is kind of boring. But we don't talk about sports that much. I don't know. Maybe at least it's extreme sports, right? For me, like when I was growing up, SSX Tricky was a kind of a big deal. At like friends' houses, we'd all like try to get the biggest runs and like watch each other play over and over. And during Tricky, I got like over a 10 million point combo one time, where I basically just had one combo throughout the entire circuit or slope. And I don't know, that was a big deal. But now it's like, I don't know, tricks have gotten so tricky because in the new SSX, it's kind of expected that you have like a whole trick like throughout the whole slope, and you have to get like 10 million to beat like some of your friends, or even higher than that. Like some of the biggest runs, you have to have like 72 million point tricks. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think like, when it comes to stuff like that, I remember when Tony Hawk's Pro Skater came out, and everybody was all over that game, like just could not love it anymore, and I couldn't play it. Like I could not do anything in that game, and the reason is that just about a year before, I had gotten really heavily into Street Skater by EA.
Yeah.
Which is a much easier game to play just to pick up and play. But because of that, it kind of completely messed me up control-wise for Tony Hawk. So when Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 came out, I was like, I am going to get good at this game. So I bought it, and like that's like all I did for about a month or two was just play that game, and I got decent. I mean, I definitely wasn't like comboing tricks for like the entire level or anything like that, or getting all of the secrets, but I was at least able to, get pretty high scores and understand the mechanics of it. And then after Tony Hawk's 3, I just got bored. I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, man, I played the death out of that. Like, and my friends and I, we were too young to buy our own games when that came out, kinda. So, we kept renting it, and we'd like get new games over and over and have to beat it like from the start again and again. But I probably beat that game 4 or 5 times with my friends. And like at the end, like I was able to do, like a 2-minute rail grind combo, of course, with the endless grind cheat on. Yeah, but I got every single thing in that game. Like I love some of those levels more than anything, like Hangar.
Yeah.
They're just amazing levels in that game. And so then I got like the next one. It was like even better. And then I got 3. Oh my gosh, it was even better than that. And then I got 4, and I'm like, this is too easy, and I'm over it.
Yeah, I think a lot of us were by that point. And then they just kept on cranking them out for like 5 more years.
Yeah, and they kept going, we reimagined it. It's realistic now, except you could still do Christ Air.
We got Bam Margera in this one. Don't you love him still, kids? Like, no, we don't. No, stop.
Stick a Panda Bear in there. Like.
in your show notes, Patrick, you mentioned combos also. And, me being the Street Fighter that I am, I just want to throw a couple out there real quick. My favorite version of Street Fighter 2 is actually the Super Nintendo version of Super Street Fighter 2. And I have a reason for this, because a lot of people say that Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo is better, but Ken was my favorite character back then, and they completely altered his kicks when they went over to Super Turbo. But if you play the Super Nintendo version of just Super Street Fighter, you can actually jack up the speed to turbo levels. And what that does is there's one very important kick that Ken has that they took out, and that's his standing near forward kick, which is a knee to the groin. And so that was very important for me because it allowed me to do my 5-hit Rack Dragon combo. And I was super upset when that combo was taken out. So that's one of my all-time favorites. Like, anytime that I am playing a Super Nintendo, I'm like, I gotta pop in Street Fighter and do my Rack Dragon. Just real quick.
That's hilarious.
And the other one real quick is when I finally mastered the Akuma's Instant Hell Murder, which I guess now they call the Raging Demon, but for a while there it was called the Instant Hell Murder, and that's what I still call it. But that's the one where he just, like, teleports towards you and, like, hits you a bajillion times.
Yeah.
And I got to the point on Alpha 3 where I could do that from almost anywhere. So it's like I would be on the ground, someone would come in for a combo, and then all of a sudden I'd get up, brrr, done.
Yeah, I love that. I felt cheap when I was doing it. I learned it in Super Street Fighter 4, and I could do it from anywhere. But yeah, I've always known it as, like, the raging whatever.
Yeah. I think it was like in Game Fan or something, they call it the Instant Hell Murder, and it just stuck for me. I think it was like a bad translation of the original Japanese text.
That's why I can't be that character too much, though, because I just feel bad for, like, the other person I'm playing against. It's like, I'm going to get you from anywhere. But, like, I'm usually cheap in my fighting games. Like, I don't know, I find out a couple combos and tricks and just end up doing it all the time. Like, if you ever played Clay Fighters 63 1/3, there was, like, this one triple brown Betty combo, and I would just do that over and over and piss off the person I was playing against until they would stop.
Well, if the game is made well enough, like, there's really nothing that's technically cheap. It's if it's in the game, it's in the game, I say. And it's just, if you're good enough, you'll be able to get around people playing that way.
Man, that was like some old EA advertising, some Madden shit. It's in the game. It's in the game.
Right.
But that reminds me, one of my best tricks was, like, my ability to rush in Madden 06. And one of my friends and I, like, we always played on, like, the all Madden mode or whatever, like the hardest mode. And, like, one day we just cranked it down to, like, an easy mode or something like that. And it was, like, ridiculous. We had over 500 yards rushing in, like, this 2-minute game. And like, it was, like, I don't know, a 4-minute game or something like that. And, like, my friend's, like, yelling out like crazy. He's like, "It's magic! It's magic!" I'll never forget that because he, like, wrote it down and wrote our stats and everything. It was the best game. It was Deuce Staley for the Philadelphia Eagles, man. I felt like a god. That's it.
That's all I got to say about that.
Life is like a box of chocolates. So, have you ever felt like a trick daddy? Like, I guess we're kind of being a trick daddy right now, passing down our knowledge and stuff. But have you ever had, like, knowledge passed down to you and you felt like a god afterward? Or, like, empowered at least? I don't know if that's blasphemous.
I don't know if I had anything ever passed down to me, like, because, like, I was thinking about Street Fighter, but that was more, well, I guess GamePro passed the stuff down to me, because I used to, like, buy the GamePro that had, like, the combos for Street Fighter 2, and I just, like, memorized it, and then tried to use that in the arcade and still got my butt handed to me. So I feel like a lot of my stuff I came to on my own. But as far as passing stuff down, when Mortal Kombat 3 came out in the arcades, that's just when I had got a computer for the first time. And it was like when I was first connected to the internet. And this is still when the internet was, like, kind of a novelty, right? Okay, because there was a time, kiddies, before the internet when people, like, didn't really know how to find this information. So I used to go to, like, AOL chat rooms and stuff, and I started finding, like, combos and moves lists for Mortal Kombat 3, because this is also in the time when Midway, they would release different versions of the game. So they were constantly changing moves and combos and stuff like that. So what I did is I collated all this stuff, like, typed it up into a nice little document, printed it out, and I used to sell them at the arcade for $5 a pop. And then that's how I funded, like, my Mortal Kombat 3 addiction. I was like, hey, I've got the moves list. Like, you want it? It's like $5.
That's awesome.
So it's like, I put a lot of work into it. Like I had, like, a legend, and I made sure to, like, put everything like nice and organized, and I even had like little bios for the characters, and I think I even had like strategies for when you're playing against that character and stuff like that. Like it was legit, even though it's just this like, 18-page, black and white document that it was stapled together.
And you're the best. I sort of like those days better, like before there was the internet, when everything became so dehumanized. Like, I'm sure I have a bunch of trick daddies now. Like, I go to GameFAQs or whatever if I really need it, and I just don't know who those people are. Like, there's no face value.
Right.
But, like, I used to have knowledge passed down to me when I was a kid before the internet and stuff. Like, when the original Sonic came out, like, I heard of the Sonic code where you access all the levels and everything. Like, it was up, down, left, right, hold A, start. But,
like stuff like that.
I thought it was up, down, left, right, hold A, start, and then like it did that for months, and I was like, wait, I can just go up, down, left, right.
Yeah, it's like, it always pisses me off when people recite the Konami code, and they say it's BA start, and it's like, no, you only have to do BA once. You're doing too many moves.
Yeah. But, I mean, same thing happened to me, like even in the Metal Gear Solid days, because I just loved that game so much I didn't want to cheat. And so it took weeks until someone like knew that I was like really struggling with Psycho Mantis at school. He's like, just move the controller. Like, what do you mean? He's like, take it out.
Have I told you my Psycho Mantis story?
I forgot.
About how pleased I am. It's actually also my boss at GameFells at the time, because we played the Japanese import of the game. So obviously we couldn't listen to what Colonel Campbell was telling us, on the codec, because it was all in Japanese. So he and I actually beat Psycho Mantis the legit way without changing controller ports.
Oh man.
Because like every third or fourth hit will connect. And so it was just this like hour-long grueling battle where you're dodging as best you can, using rations when you have to, and like every third or fourth punch or machine gun shot hits him. And that's how I took down Psycho Mantis in Japanese.
Jeez.
It's like, if there's an achievement for that, I got it.
Yeah, that's how I felt like with the end in Metal Gear Solid 3. There's like a way to beat him easier when you like put down rations or something like that, and he comes out and you can hide and like shoot him really easily. But I didn't know that, or like didn't figure it out because I wasn't smart enough or something. And so I would just like be chasing him around, and it took me like 2 hours, a good 2 hours, just to like whittle down his health. That game can be so tricky.
Yeah.
Kojima really tricks people.
And we'll get to that a little later. But yeah, I did the same thing with the end. There's so many strategies for him. That's what makes it such an amazing boss fight. But it took me a good 2 hours to take him down.
Yeah, but and then I became someone else's trick daddy because like, I felt kind of smacked on the ass.
I think you're changing the definition of what you had meant originally.
But like I ended up passing down that knowledge to other people, like playing against Psycho Mantis when the Twin Snakes came out, at least. Yeah. And I was in high school. I was like, "Oh yeah, you haven't played this yet? That's what you got to do. I really don't want you to feel this bad." And he'd be like, "Yeah, I never would have gotten that. Thank you for not having me waste my time." Like, I'm not that mean.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to like pass down some of your knowledge. Like my friend Shanna, she's my best friend, and I wanted her to play Final Fantasy XI with me, and so when I finally got her onto the game, I literally trained her how to play that game. And I taught her how to do her job and everything, and it still pleases me when I watch her play the game, and it's like, I taught you how to do that. And she's like, I had a great teacher.
Man, you're totally her trick daddy.
Shh.
But the best trick daddy for me was in the Water Temple because it didn't ruin the game, and this is what I wanted to talk about because my best friend at the time had told me to get the game. He's like, "This is going to be your favorite game of all time. I know you." And so I got it for Christmas. It was the only game I got, I think, and it was the only game that I like poured hours and hours into. And he's like, "Just tell me when you get to the Water Temple." I was like, "Why?" He's like, "You'll see." So I told him, I'm like, "Hey, should I try it, or like, do you want to come over and play it and watch because it's really cool?" He's like, "No, you're just going to get really mad. Let me play it." So he like showed me what to do kind of, and I'm like sad to say that I didn't figure it out myself, but I was young enough anyway where I was like, you know what, I don't really want to like struggle with something so hard. And so like he did it all for me, and like well, pretty much he's like, "You're going to want to do this part, And then he'd like take it back. He'd be like, I'm gonna do this because you have to go upside down a lot and you have to know exactly where to go. And it took me like hours to figure out. And I don't want to see you take the boots on and off more times than you have to. So yeah, it was really discombobulating, and I was just like, wow, you're the best, dude. And all the while we were listening to Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory.
See, I can't do that with my games. I have to be listening to the soundtrack. Unless it's something, again, like if I'm playing an MMO like Final Fantasy XI where I've heard the music for, 40 hours straight or whatever, then, then I'll go ahead and start to listen to some other stuff. But for the most part, I gotta hear the actual audio from the game.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to the audio for that so much. And at that point, I didn't really realize what I was doing, like making myself associate Linkin Park with The Legend of Zelda for the End of Time. But, I mean, good for them, kudos, but. Right. But
they will stay relevant in your eyes like far longer than anybody else.
Yeah, totally. Well, I was with them since the beginning, since their mixtape. But for something like Phantasy Star 2, like, it seriously repeats itself every 10 seconds, and I have to listen to something else or I'll go crazy.
Right.
Like, even when other people are in the room for like Final Fantasy 13, if you're like grinding in the middle of the fields when it finally opens up, that song plays over and over again, or it like has two different songs that like goes back and forth between, and like they gotta know that you're gonna be there for like 10 hours. They created the game that way. Why would they just have repetitive music? It's awful.
See, that might be a difference with our ages, because me coming up like very young on the NES and stuff where, all of the music looped, and when you think about it, like the original Legend of Zelda has 3 songs. It has the title screen, it has the overworld, and the dungeons. Mm-hmm. And they just loop incessantly, but I never got tired of that stuff, and I used to actually make my own cassette tape soundtracks for video games, where I would actually like hold it up to the speaker and like record. And I used to listen to that like just in my free time. And I don't know, maybe it's just a difference of like coming up with that stuff where it's like I got used to really repetitive tracks, but if they were catchy enough, like I really loved them. So as long as they had enough like quality to the track itself, like that never really bothered me. So even to this day, like going back to Final Fantasy 13, I never got tired of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Like I still love that.
That's it.
Like I never got tired of it. I loved every minute of it.
Oh man, I don't know. For me, sometimes you just get a headache. It's soothing for a little while, like a lullaby, but then like it wakes you up and it's just like I want to rage.
Right. Now I will. There are exceptions, because like the friggin' punk metal chocobo song from Final Fantasy 13-2 can go jump off a bridge. No, thank you. Do you want to ride this chocobo?
Did you like sell these tapes like on the street, kind of like you sold your trick?
No, because I don't think there would have been a market for it. Like I was just that weird little kid who just loved the sounds coming out of his black and white Game Boy and his NES so much that he made soundtracks off of it.
Yeah, it's hilarious. When I want something like that, though, I just listen to dubstep.
No comment.
Just over and over the same thing, and then love it.
To me, it reminds me of the brown tone from South Park.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when they don't pack something in like that, I feel like they're sort of duping us, like with marketing, because like you hear it on like a commercial or whatever, and then you don't realize it's going to be with you, that song, for like 40 hours or something.
Right.
And so that brings us to the next topic, which is like the marketing tricks that different companies have played on us. For me, like one of the biggest ones was like when the PS3 commercial came out, because there was like a baby, and it kind of like, it was like a doll, and it all of a sudden animated, and then it gets fiery eyes. And then I was like, whoa, it can levitate the PS3? That's what I'm going to be able to do.
Oh my goodness. The initial marketing campaigns for all of Sony's systems have always been terrible. Like all 3 systems, like their initial campaigns, like the first one for the PlayStation 1 was showing Sophia from Toshinden and saying how she was a gamer's wet dream. And it's like, no, she's not. And then the PlayStation 2, of course, was the whole like PlayStation 9 thing that got everybody confused.
Yeah.
And then that frickin' baby.
Yeah. They're leprechaunning us all.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But, I mean, I'll just buy whatever they do, and I love that about them because they know I'm going to buy it, so they're just like, they're going to make what they want, and, you know, it gives them license to be creative. Sometimes it works, you know, Kevin Butler, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, that's the thing is that, like, their secondary campaigns have always been great. You know, like, going back to, like, Crash Bandicoot or the guy in the Crash Bandicoot suit for PS1, and, of course, the Kevin Butler stuff, which we talked about recently. Yeah, and going into one of our comments, we actually got a few for this episode, and this one actually fits really nice going into the marketing thing. Angel Face Band 42 says, dirtiest trick ever, but overstated already. Gearbox in the new Alien game. Which, yeah, like, they sold a bill of goods that was not accurate on that one. So, yeah, I think Gearbox is going to be feeling that sting for years to come.
They better.
Right? I think people are going to be wary, even if it's Borderlands 3. I think people are going to be like, I don't know. I'm not, going to have to wait and see on this one. Yeah, did you have a marketing one besides the PlayStation one that you felt tricked by?
Daikatana.
Oh, that's a good one. The game that was going to kick your ass? Or no,
Yeah.
was it kick your ass or make you its bitch?
I think make you its bitch.
Yeah.
Make you his bitch.
Yeah, that's right.
Whatever his name was.
John Romero.
I don't know. Romero. That was like one of the first M-rated games I'd ever played. And it was
I'm
because
sorry.
I was like 14 or 13. No, I was like 12, maybe younger. And, I just like went to Best Buy and hung my finger on top of like the M-rated sign. It's like, Mom, would you rent this for me? And like, it's like, it's happening. She's really renting it for me. She doesn't know. I was like, this is going to be the best thing ever because I saw the ads. And then I played it and I was like, this game's ugly and I don't know where to go in the first level. So I'm like, Mom, I don't like this. And it's like the only game I returned early ever.
Wow. Yeah, I think for me, this will be a little bit of a controversial one, but I have my reasons. Back in 1996, like, all I could think about was the Nintendo 64. I mean, I had never wanted anything more in my life. Like, my friend Devin at school, like, when we would pass each other in the halls, we would just say, Mario 64 rules. Just back and forth to each other. Like, that was our call and response. And that was cemented. Of course, there was all the magazine coverage and everything. Like, every screenshot, I would just, like, drool over for hours on end. But then, of course, I got to play the game before the system was out at Toys R Us, which cemented it for me. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I need this system. And I actually, I got my dad to go wait in line for me at Best Buy on launch day, and I got a Nintendo 64. Played the hell out of Mario 64. Loved every minute of it. I probably finished it in the first week that I had it, and then I also had Pilot Wings, and I never really cared for that. And then sat on that system for like a year, because nothing came out that I was remotely interested in. I rented Mario Kart 64, didn't like it nearly as much as Super Mario Kart. I rented GoldenEye, didn't think that much of it. The only other game that I bought for my Nintendo 64 the first time around was Doom 64. Because I was such a huge Doom fan, and then when they completely redid the graphics and the music, like, that just totally sold me. But I felt very betrayed by the Nintendo 64 initially, because there just wasn't anything out there that I wanted. And so I traded in the system and the games. It was the first time I ever did that. And I didn't end up buying another system until I was working at Game Fellas, and it was just before Zelda came out that I rebought the system. But
yeah.
and to this day, I don't think that Nintendo has recreated the precision of the controls of Mario 64. Like, even going to Mario Galaxy, like, I feel that when I'm playing Mario 64, Mario does everything I want him to do when I tell him to do it. Mm-hmm. And in Mario Galaxy, like, I didn't think it was as hard a game as other people did, but any time that I died, like, well, not every time, but most of the times that I died, it was because he backflipped when I meant to jump to the side or forward. And, like I felt very cheated out of that. I was like, what? How did you guys forget what you did with Mario 64? Like, let's go back to that, huh? Like, I would really love that.
Yeah, maybe it's because they don't have the joystick. That joystick was like butter. I mean, I put it on everything.
It might be
but
that.
I was like just more confused with the launch of that. I didn't get it right away, only like the really rich kid at my school got it, like when there were 2 games out. He's like, dude, Pilot Wings is awesome. I'm like, why would you play anything but Mario 64?
Exactly.
So when I finally got it, there was still only like 10 games out at most or something. I got everything I could possibly get in Mario 64. That's probably the game that I played most in my life. I've probably spent 200 hours in that game, and you're right. That's the most I've ever felt like one with a character, and like he could just do whatever I want. And I got so good with his long jumps, I could make jumps that you weren't even like supposed to make.
Yeah.
And like I know the 116th star and stuff like that were like so crazy difficult, and like I was able to do it at like such a young age. I was like spending way too much time with that character.
Yeah, and you know, people were complaining about the Wii U, like, after launch, like, doldrums, but it's like, you gotta remember that the Nintendo 64 launched with 2 games, and then didn't really have anything else come out for months. And even in the first year, there was hardly anything released for that system. Hardly anything of note, anyway, anything that was actually quality.
Yeah, they just like tried to make one killer app and then have this huge install base, so then every game after that's going to be a hit and make money.
Right.
Because people are going to play that first game and then be like clamoring for more. In our case, it was GoldenEye 64, and like my friends and I don't know, we were the opposite of you. We played that game more than any other shooter that we've ever played too. That was like, well, you know, a time when I didn't have to do that much homework and didn't have a job, and so all we did like after school was, you know, play GoldenEye. Who's going to go to whose house and have the 4-player split screen? It was awesome.
Well, yeah, see, that's the difference between me and everybody else with GoldenEye, is I played that by myself. So
Yeah.
I didn't get all that multiplayer stuff. So when I actually started working at Game Fellas, that first Christmas, the big game was GoldenEye, even though it had come out months before. And I was thinking to myself, why is this game going for $80 and nobody can stock it? Like, it's all right. It's not the best thing ever, but I was completely oblivious to the multiplayer.
Yeah, I didn't really get into first-person shooters that much until then either. And I like my dad loves James Bond, and he, like, for last Christmas he got me the James Bond Blu-ray collection, and we watched all of them up to Tomorrow Never Dies so far. And GoldenEye is still my favorite James Bond movie. That's like, I don't know, when I came into consciousness and realized what a hero should be or something like that.
Wow.
And I just think like, it was like the right age too,
Right,
because
yeah.
I was about 7 or 9 years old, something like that. And like before then, you know, you kind of see a movie and you forget about it. But this one, I was like, I watched it so many times that I could tell you every plot point, and like it was great. And then you could be that guy, you could play those levels, you could jump from the big dam or whatever, like right at the beginning. You could even like paintball in the game and stuff. Like I got all the secrets I could do. And I don't do that anymore with games. I don't know. I feel like maybe it was because there weren't that many games out at once that I like was forced to keep doing the same game over and over again.
Well, we also now have the money to buy, well, usually, I haven't lately, but usually we have the money to buy the games that we want to play when they come out. So then it becomes a factor of time over money. You know, when we're kids, typically you get a game and that's going to have to last you for a while. You know, I remember getting Final Fantasy III and Illusion of Gaia when we bought our first computer. And,
wow.
you know, those were the games that I played for, like, the next year. So that's why I have my characters to level 99 on Final Fantasy III, because what else was I going to do?
Yeah. I used to get 2 games a year, and then I would like scavenge for money to like get $60 to like get another one around like, I don't know, midsummer or something like that. So I could get like a total of 3 games a year. And if you only have 3 games a year, man, you're going to play them to death, because there's just sometimes when you're bored.
Exactly, yeah.
But, I mean, maybe that's why we have more precision in like something like Mario. I don't know.
I'm still going to stick to my guns and say that, like, their control was just better on that game, and they need to revisit that.
Yeah, I hope. You know, that's like one that I would like them to make again. That controller, the 3 prongs or whatever. Because at first I was like, this is ugly and weird, but looks like a face or something. But now it's like, that's classic. That reminds me of being a little kid. But even more important than these marketing tricks we've been talking about are the plot tricks.
Oh yeah.
And there's been some pretty big plot twists and turns that we've gone through. I don't know, namely for me, probably one of the biggest ones and one of my favorites and like something that's eye-opening was Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh, okay.
So I played through Ico and it was a great game and stuff. I love the style, but when I got to Shadow of the Colossus, I'm like, man, these big colossi have to die. And that's it. Like I was bloodthirsty and I just needed to get on their backs and stab that sword through the weak spot. And like, after you get through all 15 colossi, spoilers, what happens? But you find out that you release this evil spirit and you become a demon. And you gotta run away. And then these people in the village are running after you and they kill you just as mercilessly as you've killed all the colossi. It's like the total karma hits you in the ass.
So were you bloodthirsty through the whole game, or did you start to feel remorse, like, as the game went on? Like,
no, man, I didn't feel any remorse.
Oh, man, like, I think after the first couple, I was like, starting to not feel too good about this. And then sure enough, like, with each, progressive colossi that I killed, I was like, this doesn't seem right. Like, most of the time, like, they're just minding their own business, and I'm coming along and like, you gotta die! Stabby, stabby, stabby! And then sure enough, it comes, in the end that you really shouldn't have been doing what you were doing. And that's really the first time I remember, like, that being addressed, where it's like, just because you can doesn't mean that you should do what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And that's like what the best games really have taught me. Like, that I just followed things blindly and I should have like stopped and thunk more for myself because, I mean, what are you really doing? You're just killing a bunch of things that were not going to harm you in the first place. I mean, maybe you should have like learned their language and asked for the princess back.
Right. And even that is still just like a really selfish thing. Like, he already lost like the woman he loves and he can't abide that. So he's like, no, I'm going to go on this quest to bring her back because she's mine. It's like, even that just by itself is kind of, not the most noble reason for a quest to begin.
Yeah, it doesn't work in real life. Why should it work in video games?
Right.
Am I right? Yeah, guys. What? Single.
Well, Joe Stepp has a really good one for a plot device, and it's not really a plot thing, but it is like a really evil trick in a game that does lots of evil tricks to you. But he says, Eternal Darkness, where it pretended to erase my memory card. Dirtiest trick ever.
Oh, man, that's the second game that I was going to talk about. That's hilarious.
Oh, awesome.
For me, it was like the game over screen or like the low power screen or whatever. It's like, why? It's plugged in and everything, and I'm just like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, no. I love that.
The memory card one freaked me out, but the one that really got me, and I had to slow clap afterwards, was when you open up a book or something, and it flashes to this screen that says, thank you for playing Eternal Darkness. Look forward to Eternal Darkness 2, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, what? And then sure enough, like, it goes back to, like, the screen is like, oh, well played.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I love that. But man, that whole game's tricky. Like, there was, like, the, what do you call them? Like, the stones or whatever that you're supposed to collect? I forgot. And they give you different powers. But I couldn't find, like, over half of them. And then I have this other friend who was like, yeah, I found them all without cheating. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, some of the hidden tomes, or were they tomes, I think, were just like so difficult, and I never ended up finding them. That's still a game I got to go back and play again because it was so difficult.
Yeah. I just remember like the magic system too. Like, I don't really remember all of the stuff, but I just remember the female voice when you would do your different spells and like combine the words, like Pargon. That's all I remember.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's saying something about why there wasn't a sequel, because what we remember is like the plot devices and not actually being able to do well at the game.
Oh, I remember quite a bit of that game pretty vividly. It really did stick with me. There's just certain things that I'm fuzzy on now, but like I still vividly remember like when you're playing the priest, in the church. Like, the ending of that segment is just like, holy crap! Like, I can't believe I just saw that.
Yeah.
Little things like that.
I wish they would come out, like with an HD re-release or something.
Me too.
Yeah. But another game that did what Shadow of the Colossus did is obviously we've talked about it too much, but BioShock and the Atlas and Fontaine switcheroo, you know?
Yeah.
And like the best games we've said make you think, should you do this? Maybe not.
Yeah, and I think BioShock, the tipping point for me was doing all the stuff for in Fort Frolic. Forget the character's name now, but basically he's making you go and kill all these people for him. And I'm like, I don't really want to go kill the people that you're having a beef with, but
Yeah.
I really don't have a choice because otherwise the game's not going to continue. So I guess I'll go ahead and do that.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I wish like you could circumvent. Like if there's some way I could like go through an event or something and just get to the next spot, and then he'd be like, okay, thanks a lot. Now I don't like you.
No, but see, that's what makes it genius is because it's this meta commentary on games as a whole, where
Yeah.
it's like, you know, you're always on, even when you think that you have choice, you're still going on the path that the designer has laid out for you.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And that's such is life, right?
Yeah.
Always doing what your bosses tell you.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, and probably for you too, I think we have opposite opinions on this.
Mm-hmm.
But let me set the stage for you. You know, back in 2000, when the first trailer for Metal Gear Solid 2 comes out, blows everybody's socks off because the PS2 hasn't even really come out yet. Like, it just looks like the most amazing thing ever. You get the demo with Zone of the Enders, and that's the first thing that you play is the demo, and you don't even play Zone of the Enders. And then you get the game, and you get into your hot little hands, and you play through the tanker level as Solid Snake, and you're like, yay, Solid Snake, this is so amazing, it's so much better than Metal Gear Solid. And then they do the big switcheroo on you, and you are playing a new character that the only indication that I had that he even existed was when I flipped through the instruction manual before I played the game, and it had controls for this character named Raiden and his sword. I was like, oh, I guess you get to use a different character for a little bit, but not realizing that he is the main character of Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah.
Which,
And then the rest of the game you go and you see like this guy Pliska and you're like, wait, when am I going to play as him? When is it going to come back?
Right.
But it never does.
And I think that was brilliant. I think that him being able to do that and not having it leak was one of the most amazing secrets in video games. I think it was very brave and bold. I actually kind of liked Raiden in that second game. Like, I didn't really have a problem with him. My only complaint is that I think that there's a perfect spot to switch back to Snake towards the end, and they don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But, no, I thought it was amazing, and I just love the way that Hideo Kojima can play with people that way. Just little things like that, like, you know, having when you're playing against Psycho Mantis in Metal Gear Solid 1, and he, like, cuts the screen off, and it says, like, Hideo, all, like, garbled, so you think it's the video, you know, like your TV's actually cut out on you or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just little things like that. He just likes to kind of tweak his audience and, you know, play with them and stuff, and that was definitely the ultimate, like, rib, you know, to a fan base, and I still applaud him for that.
Yeah, I like it years later now that Raiden's actually like a viable and awesome character, but like, and I guess like, if he had this like grand vision to make him like as cool as he is in Metal Gear Solid 4 and stuff, I like it because you can see where he came from, his like humble origins before he had power, kind of, and he's just like this naked guy running around trying to sneak past everybody because he's really not as badass as Snake was. And coming from that to like a nanotechnology boss, you know?
Yeah.
It really shows you like his commentary on the future of technology as well as plot and everything.
Well, but I can say pretty safely that he didn't have that plan for Raiden at the beginning. He seemed to actually a little bit put out that people hated the character so much.
Yeah.
And so that was why I remember seeing interviews with him when 4 came out, that he was determined to make people like Raiden. So that's why he went so, like, over the top with how amazing the character was in 4, was because he was like, I'm going to make you like this character that I love.
Yeah. Well, there's something about males who just like can't get behind these really feminine males because they have to act so masculine in society and blah, blah, blah.
Right. And they even made fun of him in 3 a little bit, where there was the character, you know, in the 60s that looked like Raiden, but he's like a eunuch. He doesn't have anything going on down below.
Yeah. Man, I mean, that might be the worst plot twist ever, like when it originally happened, but like fine wine, it grows better with time.
Well, I was totally digging on it even back in 2001.
I don't know. Like, that's the whole reason I bought Zone of the Enders, man. I spent $60 when I didn't have that much money on that game, and it was short enough as it was, and I basically played all of, like, what you got to play as Snake in that game.
Pretty much, yeah. I actually spent longer on the Metal Gear Solid 2 demo than Zone of the Enders just because you can beat Zone of the Enders in like 5 hours.
Yeah, totally. Which reminds me I have to go back to that game, but I have just so many games now. It's ridiculous.
Likewise.
Yeah, but like, we're not always the ones getting conned, guys. We also con others. And sometimes I con the games with like different fatalities. I don't know about you, but I would never have found them out otherwise. I totally like looked on the internet and got them. So I feel like I was conning the game, you know? I was being shady, little trickaroo. To dismember you or maim you in the baddest way possible.
Well, yeah, and especially with the fatalities, like, I think I probably only stumbled across, like, one on my own, and it was actually logical to me. I was able to discover Scorpion's fatality on Mortal Kombat 2, because I was like, well, if he's got the same fatality, I bet it's really similar to the way it was on 1, and sure enough it is. The only difference is that you hold block, up, high punch, where before it was just hold block and up.
Yeah, so, like, what have you conned?
Oh, man, well, I'll make a confession. I have never finished the original Contra without using the Contra code.
Oh,
just couldn't do it. Like, I might be able to do it now, but back as a kid, like, we would just, like, throw on the Konami code and just, like, beat Contra over and over and over, because the game would loop. You'd beat the game, and then it would start you back at level 1. You just do that for an entire afternoon. But yeah, I've never tried to do it, just legit.
I did it with, like an emulator, but the emulator lets you pause wherever you want.
Oh, so you're able to, like, leave and come back to it?
Yeah, and you could, like, save wherever you want to in the middle of a level, so it's kind of, like, cheap, but I could technically say I did it.
Yeah, I mean, being able to save in the middle of a level doesn't really, like, add any benefit. I mean, that game is only an hour long tops. Actually, it's shorter than that. What am I talking about? So really, it's more of just like I don't really feel like playing all the way through this right now type of thing.
Yeah, well, you kind of got to get lucky and get the patterns completely correct and stuff like that too. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's like trial and error, and it makes the trial and error a lot easier if you could save at any point during the level.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the way I would do it if I were you. But I tried to con games by like putting in codes a lot. Like I got like I think Game Genie for Game Boy, but for some reason I couldn't get it to work. Like you put the Game Genie in and you put the game in and you like turn it on or something, and like it's supposed to go to another screen, and then you're supposed to put in these codes, but then like the codes that you're supposed to like click on for me would like never work when I like turn on the game, and I would try to use it for like all like the Game Boy stuff, and it would never work. But then I'd go to my friend's house and he was able to make it work for SNES. So like I tried to con the game, but then it got me.
Yeah, I used to have a lot of fun with the Game Genie for my Nintendo. I remember putting in moon jumps for Mario 2. So I would get like Luigi, and I'd have him like start at the beginning of the level, and I'd do his super jump, and basically just fly over the entire stage. And this is before like Mario 3 came out, where you could actually like fly already. This is just like one jump that took me from like beginning to end of the level. It was really awesome.
Damn.
And of course the boss code on Street Fighter 2, like vanilla for Super Nintendo, where you could play as a boss for one round, and then the second round everything would glitch to hell and you couldn't really see what was going on anymore.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it was really bad. But
I didn't know about that.
It was the only way to play as the bosses in that first cartridge. So me and my cousin would get like that one good round where it was like Vega versus Ken, and then it was scramble versus scramble for the rest of the match. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to con the game in like Pokemon too, where you like beat the Elite Four like, I don't know, 8 times or something, or 21 times, and you get Mew. But it never worked for me. I think someone tricked me and told me I had to beat the Elite Four that many times.
Well, I think Lee Radical 42 would love to have some sort of game genie for a game that tricked him. He says the dirtiest trick ever was on Dark Souls, getting through Blighttown to Demon's Forge, only to realize that I have to go back through Blighttown because I couldn't get any more arrows for Demon's Forge. And he says, not funny.
Oh, man. And I know how tough that game is, like so tough that you can't even like walk straight and you just fall and you die.
You know, I haven't played Dark Souls. It might be harder than Demon's Souls, but I only played about like 20 hours of it, but Demon's Souls didn't come across as that hard for me. It's just you have to be patient. And that's the thing is that we're not taught to be patient anymore in games. So it's like if you just like kind of slow your roll and kind of pace yourself and don't try to do too much at a time, the game is pretty manageable. I think it's very fair in the way that it punishes you. You know, like any time that you die, it's because, oh, you screwed up. You know, it's not because like we just decided to pull the floor out from under you.
I never thought of it that way, but I didn't play through the whole game with that. I just watched someone play through the whole game, and once you get like overpowered, you can beat the game in like less than an hour.
Right.
Which is pretty cool to watch because I'm like, oh, thank God I didn't have to go through that, but I saw it.
Yeah.
For me, like I mostly conned again sports games when I was younger because you could trade baseball players on like the Ken Griffey Jr. games for like crap. You could like give them your worst player and get like the ultimate team. So I was a badass like with that, and for no reason at all. It got really boring really fast, but
was that the Nintendo 64 Ken Griffey?
I think the Nintendo 64 one and Slugfest, and I had the Game Boy one too on the go. Like I was pretty good at baseball, like in real life, so I was like really into the game. I don't know.
Call me Junior.
Oh my God.
Call me Junior.
It's showtime.
You pick up some really bizarre things that stick with you when you work at a video game store for 8 years.
Yeah, that thing can just like loop and I'd be happy. But like more importantly, in StarCraft 2, I could sort of con the enemies when I'm the swarm. I could be like an infestor, and when you use neural parasite, I don't know if you know about this move, where you get to take over enemy units for like a little bit, and you can spawn infested Terran from the infestor, and like it'll summon those temporary units to like fight for the Zerg. It's pretty awesome because you get the Terran to fight against themselves basically instead of doing anything.
Yeah, I feel like now that I'm older and I know more about how games are made, I'm able to con the game just naturally because I kind of understand how AI routines are designed now. So I'll be playing an action game and think, okay, if I inch too far here, it's going to trigger this. But if I hang back here, I can actually pick off like 4 or 5 of these guys right now before they actually decide to engage me. You know, little things like that or you just play the AI against each other and do little things to where you're gaming the system and you know you are, but it's like, if to me it's like, well, if they didn't program the game well enough to allow me to do this, then it's on them. You know, it's not my fault that I'm able to circumvent, you know, their well-laid plans this way.
Yeah, sometimes I felt like they were doing it on purpose though. Like when I beat Mega Man 2 at like a young age, I was like in the middle of a level and I noticed that if I would go back and forth at a certain spot, an enemy would reappear. And I would get like health from that enemy or like a 1-up from that enemy. So I would do it over and over again. And it's sort of like conning the game, but like, you know, I'm exploiting what's there.
Right.
And that's the only way I could beat it. But that just about does it for me. I don't know about you, Julian.
No, I think that's got it for me. You know, like I said, I've definitely probably been conning games more lately just from exploiting bad pathfinding and stuff like that than any cheat codes or anything that I use these days. But I do miss the cheat code day. Like I miss being able to like put in like stuff and have weird things happen, and you know, like I miss playing Doom with God mode and no clipping on, just like flying through levels and actually leaving the geometry of the level and not being able to die and stuff like that, or you know, big head mode on NBA Jam.
Oh yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, like all that good stuff.
Getting to play as Bill Clinton.
Right. Yeah. You know, Yeah, just stuff like that. I mean, there's certain codes that I'm, obviously I have the Konami code memorized. I have the Mortal Kombat Blood code memorized, even though I didn't play the crappier version of Mortal Kombat 1. Yes, I said it. The Genesis version sucks ass.
Why no blood?
But the graphics and sound are horrendous. Like Mortal Kombat on the Super Nintendo looks almost arcade perfect.
Yeah.
It's just missing the blood, and some of the fatalities are actually a little more entertaining for me. Because if you do Kano's heart rip on Sonya, because they just colored the heart silver, so I always thought he was pulling her implants out.
Nice.
I was 13, people.
I didn't think of it that way.
But yeah, like I've got that memorized. Just little things like that. I know my cousin David can still input the password to get to Mike Tyson on Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Like if you ask him, like he'll tell it to you right now.
Man, I worked so hard to get to Mike Tyson and Punch Out. Like, that was one of the tougher games that I beat as a little kid.
Oh, you beat it?
Yeah.
Oh, props. I've only been able to get to him, and then I'm just like, well, I'm done playing this game.
No, like my friend and I just spent weeks on that game.
I did beat Super Macho Man without getting hit, though. So that's my claim to fame.
Yeah, it's all about patterns, right?
Yep. And patterns can be a little bit of a con, too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if we're the biggest conners in the business, but maybe you guys are. If you guys have anything to say, I'd love to hear it. I always like to hear some tricky people.
Right. It's trick to rock around to rock around to rock.
I am Patrick.
But yeah, so is that all you got for us, Patrick?
That's all I got.
That's all she wrote. Well, thank you for that awesome, tricky episode.
Yeah, anytime you want, you just come down to the bear and we'll have ourselves a piece of pie.
So, yeah, and thanks to everybody who wrote in with their comments for the episode. I think that's probably what I'll do for each episode is I'll throw up a blog a few days before we're going to record, and we'll kind of pepper stuff in. As far as housekeeping stuff, you can see. Oh yeah, Patrick. You finally got your Illusions Rising for Metal Gear. Your
people liked it.
Yeah, people liked it a lot. It makes me feel dumb because it's like super intelligent and super brainy.
It made me feel dumb too. So.
But you should definitely check that out. It got a lot of good conversation on the site, and of course we've got some other stuff lined up.
It's funny, like a couple of days after that, I saw like all these blogs popping up about Metal Gear Solid. I'm like, coincidence?
Right? Yeah, I think you spurred on some conversation, so that's good. I've got some reviews on the way, and there's all sorts of stuff going on at Pixelbit lately. You can listen to me talk about Enslaved on Backloggers Anonymous. We also have a lot of features that have gone up recently from Angelo and Jesse and Nick, and of course Patrick. So all sorts of stuff lately, and check out the user blogs because that's been a really big deal since everybody started to come over from 1UP. And we're happy to have you.
I should have a new blog entry soon on a painting coming out. So.
Awesome. And and besides that, I guess that's going to do it. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do that. You can find Patrick at
some boss.
And you can find me at Julian_Titus. Definitely rate and review us on iTunes if you enjoyed this episode. Write in. You can contact me a bajillion different ways. You can find me on Twitter. You can email me at Pixelbit. You can private message me at Pixelbit. Comment on either the episode posting or my blogs. Whatever you want to do. Like, get in touch with us. Let us know what you think of the episode. Give us ideas. Whatever you want to do. We're all ears.
Yeah, just be wary with my Twitter account because it's actually my alter ego, so you might not get me.
You might get some boss. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like bipolar or something. I don't know.
But yeah, and of course you can check out the other podcasts over at Pixelbit. Like I said, Backloggers Anonymous, Push Start to Continue, PB and Jason, all sorts of good stuff. So I think that's going to do it for this episode. For myself and Patrick. Thanks for listening, and keep it pantsless, Internet.
Game on.
couldn't resist. I
Keep it pantsless, boy.
I just had to put a little Irish in there, Boyle.
Well, you got to do your jig sometimes because you can't do it when you get older, so you might as well. I'm dressing up as Link.
Somehow that seems fitting.
Yeah, this one girl's making the costume for me, and she's dressing up as Navi.
Sweet.
Yeah, but she has a boyfriend, so just fun.
So the whole comments will be like, "Hey, listen, you're not getting this."
Yeah. And I'm like, God damn it. No, this is torture.
Hi, this is Ken Griffey Jr. Let's play Major League Baseball. It's showtime. Call me Junior. 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 It's showtime.